Welcome to our Friday Lives. I'm Annie Brooke. This is the Brooke Institute where we share geeky somatic tips and tools for self-regulation and healing. And we try to do this in a very practical way, and that's my passion, is tools you can really use in your own life. In the day-to-day, helping you with your children, with your spouse, with yourself, at work, all those things that give you the action steps that you can enjoy. So how are you today? Have you been having some useful ideas around what you do when you're triggered? What we're going to talk about today is our group field. And group dynamics are something I've been involved in. Well, everybody's been involved in them their whole lives because of families. Families, neighborhoods, hi Sue, and the environment of interactive change. And with families, you are in that group dynamic as a learning curve, as a learning field, when you are young, when you are dependent upon the group setting. Hi, Kate. Welcome. And when you're dependent on the group setting, you're going to make adaptations and go along with things that maybe you wouldn't when you had higher cognitive ability or choices for your safety. So one of the things we want to learn about today is how do you stay safe within a group field? First thing I want to talk about, I use group fields all the time. It's my specialty in my online courses and especially in my 4-month best choice, best action. We are using a group field, and people often ask me, why is that more valuable? You keep saying it's got more potency than individual work. Don't get me wrong, individual work is very valuable. And so much wounding happens within a group setting. And so that's why doing a healing field is one of the things I cultivated as a specialty, because I want people to feel safe socially. That's where very basic needs get structured. So let's take a breath and stretch. I want you to move your spine and literally press down. Press down and lift your pelvis a little bit. Press through your elbows. I want you to feel that proprioceptive ability to exist, because one of the biggest challenges within a group setting is people go into a group trance. Put a 1 in the chat if you have ever been in a group where you felt extremely loyal and then you felt extremely, well, let's first put it that way, where you felt extremely loyal and you just loved it. So we're exploring group, the what happens when we develop our loyalty to a group. What does that do to your heart? So put a 1 in the comment section if you have been in groups before and that's something you keep seeking. You seek a group support. Hello, welcome. Yeah, I'm seeing some 1s coming in. Now, what can happen with group support? Yes, for goodness sake, you've been in a group. What can happen in groups is we regress without knowing it. We look to the group leader to be our parent, especially if we didn't have a good parent. We want a good parent. We want someone to take care of us, to keep us safe. And so the group field often gets cultivated around a young need. Very, very unconsciously, I will say. Not always, but unconsciously. And especially if it's a group that is a process-oriented group, not a task-oriented group. So when you're in a process-oriented group, you're being asked to open your vulnerabilities, right, to try new behaviors. Oftentimes, people can get regressed. So go ahead and push again. I want you to push. We're going to use a lot of proprioception today. Push down. Now, take your hands and press into the palms of your hands. And then as I move my hands, I'm not just moving them forward. I am literally pressing almost as hard as I can so I'm imagining a resistance to help me feel the spirals so they go all the way into my spine. That's the beauty of the geeky somatic explorations, is you become more present. I love sharing these with you, and these are little simple things. You can always push down on your chair at the office, or you can teach your kiddos how to reorganize themselves at school so they don't get in trouble for not sitting still. All these different things you can do when you learn to use your body. So now take your elbows. I want you to give yourself a little elbow pressure here. One on each side. Get a little joint elbow pressure. Now, pull against those elbows. Try to pull them apart and hold them together at the same time. There you go. Hello, Anne. Welcome. Pull. And as you pull, see if you can relax. There's a pull and a relax. Many times people will do proprioception and they'll get high tone. That doesn't give you the value of existing with safety and comfort. So here I want you to pull and relax. So that you have a movement flow and a container. Because that's what a group is. It's a container. And there are normal group dynamics, phases of group dynamics, if you ever study groups. And it's good to know that groups are a place that will have conflict. That is normal. And what that conflict is just like a child testing the parents. The group is testing the members and the facilitator. Can I be myself in a group? Can I get my needs met? So how many of you have been in a group where you felt betrayed? Put a 2 in the comment section. You joined a group, you gave it your all, and whoa, at some point something flipped, you don't even know what, perhaps, and you left the group and felt betrayed. That's a horrible feeling. Oh, yeah. Yes. Hello, welcome. Group betrayal cuts to the quick of safety. Yep, your family of origin. It cuts to the quick of your sense of safety, because if you feel targeted and ostracized or scapegoated or never good enough, you don't relax in that setting. And I'm thinking of some cartoons, where I forget who it is, Elmer Fudd or Brer Rabbit, and he just keeps running and banging his head against the door, right? The door's not opening, but he's banging himself against it. That's what it could feel like in a group that doesn't see you. In a group where you don't feel safe, you can feel like you're going to try harder. Try harder. Because the need to belong is so primal. There is such a need to belong. In some cultures, when someone has really bad behavior within a tribe, the decision is to make that person invisible. They don't see the person anymore. And so that's like being looked at and invisible. So imagine what that does. The group itself has to organize around a person to make them invisible. Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome. It is so important to be talking about this. And this is a highlight of what I really, really lead in my upcoming group. It starts the 25th of January. We work with group field because if you want to share your work out in the world, you have to go into the field. You have to be willing to feel safe enough to exist and to not take things so personally, because when you open yourself to visibility, there's going to be people who don't like you or think you're cuckoo or whatever, right? There's always going to be what's called projection. So now, rub your face. Yeah, and now take your hands and I want you to pull on your hair a little bit. Pull on the top of your head so that you get your scalp moving. There's really muscle and skin on top of the scalp here. And so often our head becomes just mental thinking. So I want you to get a little sensation there. And now take your head, take your hand and put it out here in the field, in the spatial field. I'm talking about a group field which very much involves spatial energy. So here, put your hand out in the spatial field and notice if you feel any place that feels defensive or invitational. So where does your hand want to go on your head? See where it's drawn to. And once you find that spot, I want you to nuzzle your head into your hand. Now, some of you may have had forceps birth or sometimes a C-section birth where you haven't had head pressure, or you were stuck in the pelvis and got pulled out. So the head, the cranium, the field around your head can contain shock. And when there's shock, it's like extrasensory radar. So we have activation. We either open too much or we resist too much. Yes, I always save my streams and I put them up on Instagram. So you'll be able to see it again. It's also going to be up on Facebook. This is an important topic, isn't it? Yes, indeed. So now take your hand and find out where on your head you can put your hand. Where is it drawn to? And nuzzle into your head, hand. So the head is actually active. You're not just letting the hand do all the work. It's an interactive relationship. That's how you get feedback. And this is exactly what a group is. It's an interactive relationship, ideally with safe enough group norms that make sense to you. So now press a little harder into your hand. And just notice if you enjoy when you press a little harder. And see if you can feel the connection from your head down your spine. And then try your hand in a different place. And try pressing with a rotation. Because part of the ability to grow up, to mature, is to meet pressure. To meet the pressure of life, to meet the pressure of real human people with needs, and to meet the pressure of relationship. That's what happens in a group. It will amplify pressure. And that's why there are many practices, group meditation, group play. We learn in groups. And you can bet if you grew up as a you were scapegoated within your family or by a group, there's going to be a level of terror and anger here. A level of rage, a level of trying to prove yourself, your worthiness. All of these things can get amplified within a group setting unless the group is well facilitated. And again, that's my specialty. I use the group to help the individual healing because so often the wound is in relationship. And so if you do a lot of good individual one-on-one healing with a therapist or with yourself, at some point you're going to have to go the next step. How do you develop a sense of safety within a group? So let's take a breath. And now I want you to float your hands up. You have to push down, float your hands up, and get the flow. I want you to develop, a sense of flow and kind of enjoyment and support. You know, I used to play when I do contact improv, I'm playing in, or I would say with space. I'm moving and I'm feeling the relationship with space, almost like a fabric. That's what I learned from Einstein is, there's a presence in space. And I started calling it the fabric of space. And I could lean back into it with my movement and rebound off of it. You know, I could find the support to change my direction. In order to survive group dynamics, you have to be flexible. And if you are flowing with space, you're going to get enough support. Now make yourself rigid. Try what happens there spatially. If I'm rigid and I lean back into space, I can't be in relationship with it. I'm in relationship with my rigidity. And so find the flow again. Make sure you're moving, turning, looking, smelling, sensing, hearing. So you're not in a freeze response. Because bilateral movement through the pyramids of the brain, right in the brainstem and the medulla, they cross, and then we have reading tracking. The pons has horizontal tracks as well as vertical tracks, and that's what underlies the ability of our eyes to be able to read. That, bilateral movement is so important. And then, of course, we have the fibers between the hemispheres. There's so many places that we don't want to freeze. We want to have bilateral movement. So how many of you have a big dream you've wanted to do and you freeze? You have a desire and you freeze. Or you have a desire and then you have thoughts that tell you, you can't do that. Oh, people who try that never works. You have the disparaging feedback mirror. And you may have internalized that. Put a 5 in the chat or the comment section if that's what you do when it comes to your dreams. I'm just going to see if that's what people do out there. You have self-talk that says, no, you can't succeed. You'll be too much. And that's what groups can do is they can perceive and sense. Yeah, I'm seeing some 5s coming in. Yeah, if you are raised with the feeling of you're too much or you can't succeed, you will be in an internal stop-start. Because it is a natural process to grow, to explore. And if you've got an internal stop-start, how sad, right? Because you're fighting your fear is fighting your desire. You have an internal double bind, and it could be very deep in your motoring habits. Afraid of success and losing yourself. Yes, I was afraid of that. I was always afraid of being overwhelmed. And guess what? As an infant, I was overwhelmed. So I had a primitive, instinctual trepidation of being invaded. And that does not help you relax and be willing to be visible. Because you have to be visible to have your voice in the world. So a success could be you actually write your book. Success could be you don't get reactive in your relationships. Success could be you know how to receive support. Success could be, wow, you can go through a day without being pulled off center. Or you can regroup so consistently that you find the pleasure of the invitation of the daily day. All the tasks and things, you're more present to enjoy the here and now. That is so, so important. So you were successful, then you got rejected, then you had to between them and yourself. Ouch. That is so right. It's time for that to change. You can, learn how to have both. They can still resent your success, but, if you want my help with that, join up for my Best Choice, Best Action group. That 4 months of focus, I will help you move through that threshold. Because sometimes you can't heal this stuff on your own. That's why I love leading my online courses and sharing really cool, geeky neuroscience and everything. And this 4-month focus group, this mastermind I lead, takes you through those thresholds. Because it's a pressure cooker in a good way. So I'm sending out a huge invitation to the 14 people who are going to make it in the door, because I love working with the group field and helping it grow. So how do you interrupt your fear habits? Pay attention to them, because fear is like the starter on the car. It's there for a good reason. It helps you realize, pay attention. But if you get stuck in fear, you're going to burn up you would burn out your battery if you ran your car on the starter. You would burn out your starter motor. And then you wouldn't be able to, hi, welcome. You wouldn't get anywhere. So here, it's time to change habits, right? Now, I've been really studying the basal ganglia of the brain. Take your hands and put them right here. You can do a little circular lymphatic massage. Whew. And what's so interesting in embryology is that the development is folds and folds. Our brain is literally the fold of our neural tube, folding into different brain components. And there's fluid streaming and folding. And way deep in there is where the basal ganglia and the limbic system is, and they call them the nuclei in the brainstem. All of these things are filters and holders of experience. The basal ganglia holds motor pathways, learned motor pathways. So if you've learned a behavior, the basal ganglia will help you keep doing it. So right now we want to give ourselves a little freedom in there. Find a little freedom. You have to run. Yes, but do listen to the remainder. I'm so glad you could join us for a little while. So glad you're here. And in this, we're looking at group dynamic today. And group dynamic is so important. I'm just reading some of the comments. Someone's in the grieving and growing process of letting go of people in your life that you know aren't something helpful maybe. Some days are diamonds, some days are triggers every time you turn around.